PE Office, everything a PE teacher needs.
Hello and welcome back to the PE Office podcast. Today we'll be discussing triathlons and how the combination of swimming, cycling and running can offer an opportunity to develop confidence, resilience and a love for sport. We are privileged to be joined by Ollie Mitchell and James Cole from the British Triathlon to give their perspectives on the event and how elements could be introduced by schools into PE lessons. So firstly, thank you both for coming on, really appreciate it. Can you just tell the audience a bit about yourselves and what you do first of all? So yeah, Ollie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Ollie Mitchell. So I'm National Programs Manager here at British Triathlon. So essentially what that means is that I look after our participation development programs on a day-to-day basis. So supporting both across England and our home nations, so Wales and Scotland, to develop those programs. They include Active Skills for Life, which I'm sure we'll touch on in a little bit, Beyond Swim, which is an open water swimming venue accreditation program, and Swim, Bike, Run, which is our key participation offer, which again, I'm sure we'll chat through a little bit later.
Amazing, great job, Ollie. And James, if you want to talk a bit about what you do.
Absolutely. So I'm James Cole. I'm the regional manager for British Triathlon, covering the Northwest, which is kind of everything from Carlisle down to the bottom of Cheshire. So I'll work alongside Ollie on a program, from a program perspective, helping to embed those in various different contexts across my region, whether that's working with clubs, community organisations, and schools. I'll also have a more general role around kind of club support, working to grow and sustain our clubs across the region, working with event organisers to kind of help grow the footprint and the size of the sport across the region, essentially. And then from a kind of a real development perspective, we've got 3 of our priority places in the Northwest where we're trying to work in more of a community-based way and use the individual disciplines of swim, bike and run to have more of a wider impact from a societal perspective. I suppose that might be engaging people around health or antisocial behaviour, or helping to address loneliness and things like that.
Love that. Amazing stuff. I mean, triathlons, when you think about it, there's a lot more that really goes into them, isn't it? In terms of the planning, the prep, and actually putting them on and then doing it themselves. It's just, I couldn't do it myself, to be honest. Let's be honest. I was more of a sprinter and not a triathlon runner. But talk to me a bit more. Talk to me a bit more about this. This Active Skills for Life program, then, and the swim, bike, run. What does it actually all entail? What's it all about? And what are you trying to achieve with it all?
Sure. So I think kind of what you're mentioning then around, like you said, really early days there around, doing a triathlon, it's not for you, kind of absolutely. With Active Skills for Life, swim, bike, run, it's in the name. We're really trying to break that apart and go, there's a swim, there's a bike and there's run to everything that we do. So key to what we're trying to do through participation is getting people kind of introduced to activity and hopefully getting them onto the journey of multi-sport. So it doesn't have to be all 3 at the same time. It is really breaking that down to build confidence and competence across that. So when we talk about swim, bike, run, actually some of the activities we do, and this is from our participation offer all the way to when you have the larger events taking place, they might be a bike and a run, they might be a swim and a run. Like if there's an element that you're not confident with, then actually you can dip your toe into multi-sport and then potentially reach triathlon one day or not at all, but you're still kind of entering that world. With Active Skills for Life, it's very similar. So these are resources and activities for kids aged 7 to 14 years old. They're applicable in a range of different settings, and we've kind of developed resources that are bespoke for those settings. So primary schools, secondary schools, but also holiday camps, leisure providers, community organisations, and our affiliated triathlon clubs. Very much they are creating triathlon inspired activities and games that isn't right, here's a PE session, we're going to go and smash a triathlon. It is absolutely, we're just going to focus on swim today, or we're going to focus on transition and really building fun games and elements out of that. You may find that we all know that schools have challenges accessing pools, but that's fine. You can still do the run, bike and transition sessions and really trying to break sport down in that element. And I think how that all pieces together is that if we can introduce young people to the sport for the first time through programs such as Active Skills for Life, as well as the work James mentioned around our priority places, then Swim, Bike, Run provides part of that pathway to getting people involved outside of the settings and kind of getting involved with the family as well.
That's great. Yeah, I think what you're trying to do there and breaking down into small segments and then building up, because it can be quite overwhelming. Kind of, go do a triathlon, that's it. So what
Definitely,
you
like
guys are
you get
doing,
people going, "Oh no, like, I can't swim. That's really put me off." Like,
mm,
okay, we can go do a run bike. Like that's not a problem.
yeah. No. What would you say are some of the fundamental things you actually need as a young person driving through? What would you teach to be able to say this is what you need to do for swimming, biking, running? What are some of the key lessons you should embed? Do you think, James, to try and get their resilience built up to initial, and then be able to go to those massive triathlons in a sense?
I think from our point of view, it's about that first experience being positive and being really key. So that it's got to be fun and enjoyable in whatever context it's delivered in. So if it's within a primary school, it's got to be engaging. It's got to be something brand new to them potentially that's going to give them a hook and a buy-in and a point of reference. That's why we've kind of talked a lot more about swim, bike, run. So it's instantly relatable. Whereas you hear the word triathlon, certainly me as a 7-year-old probably wouldn't have had a clue what you were talking about, but I would have understood swim, bike, and run. So providing that real positive experience, and that's why the resources are kind of key to that, because everything's mapped out, everything's there as a obviously kind of a short, sharp introduction that's hopefully going to be fun, engaging, something a little bit different, something that's kind of not traditionally being delivered in schools that might just catch their eye. And then that's where my remit from a regional perspective comes in, I suppose, so that I can then engage with those schools and provide them the other opportunities beyond there. So whether that is links into club world, whether it is links to our junior series, where they can get that kind of first entry level point of racing, if you like, where it's still more about participation and having a really positive experience than it is the end result. But it's taking that next step and just making sure that all the points on the journey, if you like, from kind of day one of here's your first swim, bike, run session, or here's your first active skills session, to there's your first race, make sure they're all kind of highlighted and there's that pathways there for everybody. It's purely about if it's fun and engaging, it'll switch them on to something that's a little bit different, a little bit new, and hopefully they'll keep coming back. And we just want to create more touch points with young people in our sport, giving them a little bit more opportunities that they've got to connect with us. The more opportunities the more likelihood is that they'll keep coming back.
Yeah, no, that's great, really good. I think what you guys do and make it inclusive as well, aren't you? To say to anyone that anyone can get involved in this, whatever they're doing. What would you say to teachers and schools out there? How inclusive can it truly actually be to get involved in swimming, biking, and running? To really get involved in that aspect.
So I think looking at active skills for life, there's kind of two different aspects for that. There's kind of the accessibility for the schools to be able to engage with that program. Then there's accessibility to participants as well. So thinking of kind of how we can make sure that as many schools as possible can access this. There's, when we mentioned before about access to pools, within the resources, there are land-based sessions available as well for swimming. So very much, none of these activities are going to be about absolutely perfecting your stroke or really kind of really honing on skills. It's all about confidence and competence. If you haven't got access to a pool, actually there's some land-based sessions built into that, or it might be that just fill a paddling pool in water and you still get that splash and that water involved in it. Yes, it is not swimming, but it introduces that element to young people. Likewise, schools may not have access to the whole fleet of bikes. That's where the work with the likes of James and our regional management network, it may be there are bikes available where we connect the dots. It may be that scooters are a possibility for a school. It may be that actually you just hold a hockey stick and just pretend handlebars, and kind of it simulates that idea. And likewise with space, we're not saying go on a run and do a 10k loop of one field. It is, you can do shuttle runs and relays and drills. Like, it's all about making it fun and bite size. So I think that's how we really remove barriers to get schools engaging with us as much as possible, and trying to, every time a challenge comes up with a school, we work with them to try and remove that as much as possible. I think then when looking at the resources themselves, in the formation of them, we work really closely with disability organisations. So absolutely kind of embedded within in every single activity and kind of the playbook where it kind of maps over a kind of course of a half term. There are adaptations in there for any pupils that need kind of require additional needs. So that is from range of from lower limb impairments, visual impairments. That's all been built into the resources as well. Because again, this isn't about just race and triathlon. It is just those kind of building blocks and fundamental skills.
Yeah, amazing. I think but what you were saying, building those blocks and building up is what's fundamental for young people, especially. James, what would you say in terms of to teachers out there why they really need to get swimming, biking, running, or all these kind of components embedded into a PE curriculum? Just not for the physical benefits, but also the mental benefits for young people as well, so they can go on to the future. Do you think?
Absolutely. I think if you look at if you take each one in turn, the kind of fundamental life skills almost, so especially swimming. You look across the northwest. From my perspective, we've got no end of coastline there, and opportunity to access blue spaces and pools. So children and young people being able to swim, first and foremost for me, that's then a gateway to other activities, let alone triathlon, swim, bike, run. If you can swim, you can access leisure centres, you can access splash pads, you can be confident in those spaces as a young person, and as a family and as a group and things. So it's very much around that being a life skill. You then kind of look at the swimming and the running aspect, and they lend themselves to so many other different activities. So we're not about creating mini triathletes here. We're looking at the much broader piece and that kind of physical literacy piece. So it's sowing the seed so that these children and young people and these schools can embed it into their curriculum, into their everyday life, so that it builds a healthy habit that these young people will carry through life. Whether that is, ideally they'll get a taste for it. They'll go on. They'll want to join a junior club. They'll want to access events, and they'll be with us for a long time. But if we've created that touch point that says, oh yeah, with help of active skills and British Triathlon, I'm more confident on a bike, or I'm happier and better at running, and that's led me to take up, athletics, American football, badminton, whatever it is. If we're fostering that engagement of activity and building that throughout their life course, then it's a job well done. They'll always have that touch point back to active skills, back to British Triathlon. And if they then come back into our world in 5 years' time and think, actually, yeah, this is for me, this is something I'm comfortable with and confident in accessing a race, then brilliant. But it's very much around that physical literacy piece and embedding it. You're cycling, it's active travel. We're aware of environmental issues. So again, our sport's probably unique in that it can be used in that way. You can potentially be training whilst you're going to and from school or to and from work on your bike potentially. The same with running. So it's those kind of lifestyle factors and those wider reasons why you should get involved and kind of promote swim, bike, run and active skills within your school setting.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think people kind of forget that sport can teach you so many skills, can't it? I come from a football background, but when you're a kid, you don't really realise what it can do for the future self. And I think that's what you guys are doing really good, embedding it into schools and making sure young people are getting the best out of it. It's really good to see. What would you say from both your perspectives, your overarching message to schools, teachers, or even young people out there, why they need to get more involved with this, why it should be embedded more into the PE curriculum out there? So yeah, Ali, we'll start with you if you want to go.
Yeah, sure. I think the unique selling point with our sport is that by engaging with us, there's three different sports you can work with. I think, and absolutely like echoing what James just said about it, we're working with like fundamental life skills as well, and that kind of building an active travel, that independence it gives kids to be able to go out on their bike, be able to go out on a run, be able to go into the pool and actually be comfortable in water. They're all key things that cover the work that we do. I think as well, the curriculum is full of team sports. When I was at school, the amount of times I played football, and football is not my sport, and I have no foot-eye coordination going at all. But actually, if I was given a kind of like an individual sport like this, I'd absolutely would have loved it. And I think thirdly, there's a real push now to actually not just how we can encourage young people to become active, but actually how does that then pass over to their families, and we can get their families active as well from the activities that they're doing in school. We've absolutely got a pathway in place where hopefully through engaging active skills, and there's a cycle session at school, they take that home, actually want to get onto their bikes more. And as a family, we have through our swim, bike, run program family waves as part of an event offering, so that you absolutely, parents, guardians, older brothers and sisters, nieces, nephews, you can get them all involved into a family unit of 6 and get them participating in swim, bike and run activity. So it is absolutely something which starts with a young person at school. They can take that back to the home, and suddenly the whole home and house is getting involved. We can signpost to local community clubs. So there's a really strong pathway, not just an individual, but as a whole unit, they can build in a community off the back of that as well.
That's brilliant. A lot of initiatives that it seems like you guys are really pushing, so it's really great. James, what would you say of your overarching message? What would you say to people out there?
Similar to Ollie, really. I think like he's already touched on the fact that it is an individual sport, and you're only then really measuring and comparing yourself to you. So every time you do a run or a cycle session, you're not competing against anybody else. It's can you beat your own personal best, whatever your starting point is. And again, team sports are fantastic, but they're not for everybody. And like Ollie says, that opportunity to take part in something as an individual, to measure and to be able to see your own progress week by week, month by month is brilliant and is really valuable for some young people. And again, that sense of community that people can tap into once they do kind of come into the world of swim, bike, run. There's a whole host of clubs and other community organisations that are involved with us and involved in our sport that are fantastic groups and organisations to be a part of. Myself and my regional colleagues are working hard with our triathlon clubs to make them truly representative of the communities that they sit in, and the Active Skills for Life program's a massive part of that. So that you go to a club in Manchester, for example, and it's truly representative of the people that within that city, and likewise within Liverpool and Warrington and all these places, and the Active Skills for Life program creates those opportunities. It gives people that taste. So I suppose, the overriding message for myself would be to get involved, give it a try, and take it from there.
Yeah, superb. I couldn't echo it more, to be honest, because what you guys talked about today definitely develops that independence, doesn't it, for your future self? And something we really, really do preach here as well. So finally, what's coming for you in British Triathlon? Anything interesting you want to echo out, or where can people get more involved with what you guys are doing at the moment?
So all the references to the active skills resources we mentioned, what we've not said is they are completely free of charge to access. Like, very intentionally, we want this as spread as far wide as we can. So first port of call, absolutely check out the Active Skills for Life website on the British Triathlon pages. You can subscribe there completely free and access the full range of resources that are available. We've recently integrated, thanks to Sport England, swim safe resources as well. So really looking at that, building confidence in the water, that's all integrated as part of the resources. Similar to that, from swim, bike, run side of things, we are over the summer period going to be launching a summer campaign, really focusing on that family participation. So again, check out the swim, bike, run pages. There'll be loads of activity taking place on there over the next few months.
Brilliant stuff. All right, well, it's been amazing having you both on. Really appreciate it. Everyone go and check out all the material and initiatives out there with James and Ollie. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, gents.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So thank you to Ollie and James for joining us on the PE Office podcast. If you enjoyed it, we have a vast array of PE resources on our shop, which you can visit at www.peoffice.co.uk. And make sure to stay tuned for upcoming PE Office podcasts.
PE Office, everything a PE teacher needs.